So welcome, Jimmy. I'm so happy to have you with me today. I just wanted to let you know that I reached out to you for a multitude of reasons. And I've been following you for a while now, actually. The first time you came across my radar was when I was considering going low carb. It's probably been about 5 or 6 years ago. And ever since then, you have been one of my top recommended podcasters and websites for my people to go to. So I'm reaching out because I have health coaches as students and they struggle with a multitude of things. And you kind of meet the criteria in all of them as topics. So I'm just going to tell you a little bit about those and I want you to tell us about you. Okay.
Okay.
So basically, you are like many of the clients that health coaches work with today. Your story is really impressive, especially about the 16 cans of Coke a day. I could not believe that. Was that actually true? Did you drink that many?
That's actually true, unfortunately. Yes.
How in the world did you sleep?
Oh my gosh. I don't even remember how I even lived, to be honest, because that much sugar flowing through my system. It was somewhere around 1,500 to 1,600 grams of sugar a day. And if you divide that number by 4, that's teaspoons. That's not a pretty picture.
Oh my gosh. I mean, I was absolutely floored. I thought there had to be some sort of a typo.
Nope, it's real.
So that's one of the reasons I'm reaching out. Another reason was you don't have a medical degree.
Nope.
And you learn so much about health that you're now teaching other people through so many different avenues. I mean, how many podcasts have you got now?
You talking about just individual shows that I've done or the number of podcasts? So Live La Vida Low Carb Show, Ask the Low Carb Expert, Keto Talk with Jimmy Moore and the Doc, Low Carb Conversations. Those are the 4 shows that I do cumulatively of those 4. It's right around 1,500 shows that I've done.
That's amazing. It's amazing.
Not to mention all the other podcasts I've been on, like this one, in this kind of format. So it's thousands.
Thousands. And so the third thing is that you have a massive social media following, and it's based purely on your journey. So that's where I want to go. Yeah, that's where I want to go right now. I want to give you the floor. I want you to tell us who you are. Tell us a little bit about your story. And I've got some main points I want to ask you, throughout the talk, but just I want you to run with it. I want you to tell people all about your story and how you got to where you are today.
Yeah, so if you'd have told me back in 2004, 12 years from now, you're going to have one of the biggest health websites on the internet, I would have laughed in your face because I was the picture of not health. Back in 2003, late 2003, going to 2004, I weighed 410 pounds, was on 3 prescription medications for high cholesterol, high blood pressure, breathing problems. I wore size 62-inch waist pants, 5XL shirts. I was a mess. I was 32 years old on a one-way ticket to an early grave. And what's interesting about this story is just a few years prior to this, my brother Kevin had a series of heart attacks at the very age that I was when all this was happening, 32, that nearly killed him. It eventually did kill him at the age of 41. He succumbed to that, and I actually dedicated my book, Keto Clarity, to him at the very beginning. I dedicate the book because I want to save the other Kevins of the world out there. It's not an inevitability that we get sick and fat and die. That's not the way life is intended to happen. Right. And so I was able to find a way, finally, that got me out of this mess I was in of all those things I was dealing with. And it was a nutritional plan I never really heard talked about in a positive light. Everybody, when they want to go on a diet, they always fall back to these defaults: low fat, low calorie, exercise at the gym. Those are the things that we inherently know is the way to lose weight and get healthy. Unfortunately, none of those things ever helped me long term. I would always be hungry. I'd always be irritable. I'd always have just a deprivation was a good word to describe it. And it never was sustainable. So getting rid of the hunger, getting rid of the deprivation, getting rid of the cravings were all the key. How do you do that? So it was in December of 2003, I got a diet book for Christmas.
Oh my gosh, who gave that to you?
My mother-in-law, God bless her, gave me a diet book for Christmas. And she'd given me diet books just about every single Christmas. It was like a not so subtle hint that her son-in-law was fat. So thanks, Mom. Yes, I know. And so I got these books and I would read them, and most of them were predicated in the past on low-fat diets. I'm going, oh, here's another one. And but you always kind of default back to that. And anybody that's never been overweight, you don't know the psychology that goes on there, that you get so frustrated that you want to do something, so you do anything, and then you do that anything, and at some point the willpower just isn't there anymore, and you give up and you gain it all back, and then some, kind of as a rebellion. That's what happened to me many, many times in my life. But this time she gave me a book that was unlike any other. Christmas 2003. It was Dr. Atkins' New Diet Revolution.
Okay.
And I had heard of the Atkins diet before, and several people when I've lost weight in the past, oh, you must be doing that Atkins diet. Oh, no, I'd never do, so unhealthy. I bought into it like everybody else had. But I started really taking a look at this in 2003 when I got the book, and I read it between Christmas and New Year's, and I said, all right, this guy's a cardiologist, and he's telling people to eat more fat. Is he out of his mind? Doesn't he know that's what raises your cholesterol and gives you heart disease, clogs your arteries?
Right.
Okay, eat. Okay, don't eat. You got to get your energy from. But you know what? I was so frustrated at that point. I was 410 pounds, did not know it at the time I was reading this book, but was very, very unhealthy at the age of 32. I think that was a major turning point for me, that had I not changed in that year or two, realizing where I was, I may not be here today. And I don't say that lightly. I truly believe I would be dead today had I not made this change. And so I gave it a go. January 1st, 2004, went on the Atkins diet as written in the book, not just meat and cheese as everybody thinks the Atkins diet is. I did it actually by the book, which includes vegetables as well. And I lost 30 pounds the first month. I was like, okay, this is kind of cool.
Yeah.
4 down to 380. I was very svelte, 380 pounds,
Yeah.
and had so much energy that I wanted to go and exercise at the gym. So I started exercising. I lost another 40 pounds in the second month. By the end of 100 days, 100 pounds was gone. And it was at that point, I'm like, okay, there's truly something different about this. It really wasn't the weight loss that I was noticing as much as it was the health gain that I was starting to notice. I was coming off those medications. So the breathing stuff went away in just a few weeks. The blood pressure medicine, I'd get off the couch and I'd start getting woozy. And my wife, Christine, would tell me, I think you need to stop taking that blood pressure medicine. So I did. And the one I held on to the longest was the cholesterol one, because I still bought into the lie about cholesterol. And of course, I later wrote a book about it, Cholesterol Clarity. But I finally, of that one, yes, there it is. Got rid of that drug. And thankfully, those 3 drugs are no longer a part of my life. I did go on to lose 180 pounds in that year. And it literally changed my life. The Atkins people heard about my success, and they featured my story on the front of their website. And that's where I kind of got a little bit known. People started asking me, where's your book? Where's your blog? Where's your website? Like, will you people leave me alone?
Yeah.
But I eventually did start a blog in 2005 called Living La Vida Low Carb. A year later, this guy said, hey, you need to be a podcaster. This was 2006. Nobody had podcasts back then. But he kind of saw the talent in me that I didn't even know I had at the time. And I had no experience, doing interview styled shows like I do now. I've literally interviewed hundreds upon hundreds of all the top experts in the world of health. I didn't know how to do that. I just did it because I became so passionate, and I took that passion and I've let it fuel me. Of course, when my brother died in 2008, that just lit a newfound fire under me that I need to help prevent the other Kevins of the world out there from dying too, because you're not supposed to die at 41.
No. And don't you think that this happening to you actually uncovered that gift that someone else saw in you? Like, this gift might not have ever shown itself had you not gone through that journey.
What a great question. I long felt that I was stifled in my career.
Mm-hmm.
I long felt that all the jobs I had ever been in, I was in positions that I probably should have been promoted. And I think the weight probably held me back. And some of the stereotypical things of people that are fat, oh, they're lazy, they don't work hard, kind of came into play. And I think I was held back from that. So yeah, I totally believe that the talent was there all along, and I believed it in myself. It's just I never truly had the confidence until I went to work for myself that finally blossomed. And when I control my own destiny, so to speak, in my career, it's like Johnny bar the door, because I'm gonna knock it open, and I think I have the last few years.
Absolutely. You have, all right. That is for sure. And I have to say, let me throw this in there because I held the book up just a minute ago, but I want to hold it up again because, I've got so many little tabs and bent pages, and it's
Love it.
Death. And I've given it away a couple of times, but then this last time when my dad came in town and he was like, well, they gave me my cholesterol numbers and they're like 220 and maybe I could just borrow that book. I said, oh, no. Nope. That's the last time I'm giving it away because I have to tab it over and over again. So what I did for him was I bought him a hard copy so that he could take notes, and I sent it to him on Audible.
Oh, cool.
So that he could listen. And, my dad's in his 70s. He's super, super smart guy. Just recently took really big charge of his health. But this is the last piece for him was his cholesterol.
Yeah.
And so I can't tell you how important this book has been to me and to my clients that, my one-on-one clients, my groups, and now to the coaches that I'm teaching, that they don't have to go out there and write their own book on cholesterol. They need to go out and they need to buy the books by people like you on ketogenics and cholesterol that have done this and share that with their clients in a way that makes sense, because it really resonated with me.
You know what's interesting about, he's 70 years old, you said?
73, I think. Mm-hmm.
So what's interesting about a 73-year-old with a total cholesterol of 220, that's actually kind of low. It usually in traditional cultures, as you know, having read the book and given it away a million times, thank you for that, by the way, that people, as they get older, the cholesterol works as a healing agent in older people. And so traditional cultures free from heart disease, the normal level of cholesterol, especially women, tends to be a lot higher, somewhere around 300 total cholesterol being a normal. So 220 without medication is actually a bit on the low side. I'd say probably needs to bump up his fat a little bit, which will give him the benefits of that as well. So, but that's great.
That's what I told him. I said, I don't think you're eating enough fat.
Yep.
But let's go back for a second, because when you said that about, especially for women,
yep.
One of the things that I find when I'm teaching coaches, and clients about this is that, cholesterol is the precursor to hormones. And I don't know this stuff like you do, but I do know this, that women we're so much more complex. We require so much
in a lot of ways.
In so many ways, but especially with our hormones.
Hi, honey.
Yeah. Hi. Yeah. My husband's not here, but he loved that I'm admitting to that. But we require more cholesterol, higher cholesterol numbers for all of the hormones that we have to synthesize to be healthy individuals. So it always just, it makes me like, do this whenever clients come to me and they say, well, they want to put me on a statin because my cholesterol is 205. Women are coming to me and they're in their 40s and 50s. I'm just so what do you tell people about that? How do you explain that to the women or to a health coach? Let's say that. Let's talk to the students that I'm teaching that you're going to be a part of. What would you say to those coaches to tell their clients that come to them with the same complaint?
Yeah, cholesterol is not the enemy. And we make that very clear in Cholesterol Clarity that it's not the cholesterol, stupid, it's the inflammation.
Right.
And once you get the onus off of this thing that people have always seen as the villain, and one of my experts in Cholesterol Clarity was Malcolm Kendrick. He said, as an analogy, it's like telling people Hitler wasn't evil.
Yeah.
How do you undo that knowledge that people have in their head that Hitler was evil? Now, he was evil, so there's no question about that. But let's imagine he wasn't, and you're trying to undo that knowledge in people's heads. That's what we've done to cholesterol. How do you undo a negativity that's been out there for so long and let people now think and know that it's a good thing to have higher cholesterol? In fact, you'd rather have much higher cholesterol than you would too low a cholesterol because of all the mental health issues, all the sex hormones that you just mentioned issues. You want more cholesterol. What you don't want more of is more inflammation. And there's all kinds of tests that you can run to see how inflammation's going. HSCRP is the one we focused in on in Cholesterol Clarity, but there's other one, fibrinogen is another one, homocysteine. You can run all these different tests, and if the cholesterol's high, but you've got very low inflammation, why are you worried about your cholesterol? Cholesterol is there for a reason. And I think the way I would explain it to any health coach is imagine cholesterol as a firefighter. Okay. And then the inflammation is a fire. So if I'm looking over here at my neighbor's house and I see it's on fire, I'm going to call the fire department. I'm going to say, you need to send some fire trucks out here because my neighbor's house is on fire. But let's imagine you get rid of the firefighters. They're like 20 miles down the road now. Okay. So we've eliminated them from getting here quickly or getting here at all. There's a roadblock put up that blocks them. Let's imagine they can't get to the fire to put it out. Well, that's exactly what we've done when we've removed the cholesterol from our bodies vis-a-vis a statin drug. You've taken away the firefighters from putting out the fire. Well, what happens to my neighbor's house if we don't put it out? It's going to burn to the ground in total destruction, right? Well, that's exactly what's happening in the arterial walls of your heart. Is the inflammation is allowed to fester, and you basically burn the house down in there. And that's not what you want. But the reason the cholesterol is there is that is the firefighter trying to put out the fire. Now, we blame cholesterol for heart disease because, see, we see cholesterol in those arteries. It's that yellow, waxy substance. It's in there, so it's got to be the culprit. But do we blame the firefighters for the fire? Right. No. Why would we? Because they're not the culprit. They're trying to put out the fire. They're not the reason why we have fires, just as cholesterol is not the reason why we have heart disease.
Yes, exactly. That's great. That's a great analogy. And I think it's one that, cholesterol is not one of the number one things. I have a health coach board, and I've got over 1,200 health coaches, and I'm the sole moderator. And I'm on there every day, but I try to be very conscious of the real issues that are coming into our clients today. And cholesterol is one of the things that I see a lot of. I mean, it is, people are so fearful that they're going to have a heart attack. Yeah. Put those cholesterol numbers back, and they're being, here's your statin. My doctor says I should take this. And then there's the health coach over here going, okay, we can't say you shouldn't take that because that's against the law for us. We can't do that. Yeah. So what I tell them is I say this is how I teach my coaches. So there's a lot of research out there today that might go against what your doctor is saying. I'm going to tell you that you need to listen to your doctor, but I encourage you to read this book, or go out there to your website where you talk about cholesterol, get the most up-to-date information, take it to your doctor, and make a decision together.
That's all great advice, and I'll even take it one step further. I would ask for further testing before you put me on a medication which has potential side effects that I think are undesirable. And I've actually taken both Lipitor and Crestor, so I can speak firsthand of the debilitating effects that has on your muscles and joints. And we talked about in Cholesterol Clarity, one of my experts was Dr. Dwayne Gravelin, and he talked about having this transient amnesia episodes. It was really bad neurological on him. But I would ask for further testing. So, okay, you have a 220.
Oh, I've lost you. Can you hear me? We seem to have lost connection. Jimmy, are you there? Uh-oh, we seem to have lost connection. I'm going to...
Are you there?
Yeah, I'm here. I don't know what happened.
Oh, sorry. It froze on me. On this end, it just totally froze.
I was like, hello.
Hello.
I've got a full signal. I'm not sure what's going on, but
Okay, looks like we're back now. So you want me to just pick up from here?
Yeah, you said something. The last I heard was 220 something.
Yeah, so your doctor sees that you have a total cholesterol of 220 and suddenly thinks you have a statin deficiency. And at that point, you can say, you know what, I want to do further testing because I don't believe that that's necessarily a bad thing. So ask for an HSCRP. Let's see what that actual inflammation level is. If it's under 1.0, it doesn't matter what your cholesterol is. You're probably okay because there's no inflammation, and without inflammation, there is no heart disease. So that would be the first thing I would ask to run. And if he's also worried about your LDL being high, as if LDL is a bad thing, then ask to have a more advanced cholesterol test done. And this is only for people in America. If you're overseas, you can't run this one. Sorry about that. But in America, you can run one called the NMR lipoprofile test, and it shows you the particle size and the particle number. And what you're looking for is mostly large, fluffy LDL and not so many of the small, dense LDL. And that's going to kind of tell the tale of how you're doing in your heart health. Two other things that you can run to actually look for signs of heart disease is this thing called a CT heart scan. So you go into a CAT scan and it does your whole chest, and they'll look for signs of calcified plaque. I've had mine run twice in the last 10 years since I started living La Vida low carb, and it's come back zero both times, despite my total cholesterol being over 300 both of those times.
Wow.
And then the last thing that you can run is this thing called a CIMT. So it's an ultrasound of your carotid artery, and it'll look for actually plaque that's in your carotid artery, which is also another way that you get strokes and heart attacks. So those are real easy to run. And if they come back clear, then you can ask your doctor, why do I need to be on this medication again?
Sure. Now, are those usually covered by insurance, those two tests?
The NMR test that runs the advanced should be. I'm not sure, honestly. I don't think the CT heart scan is, but it's only $99 where I live here in South Carolina. I can run that one straight up, $99 out of pocket. That's not expensive. The CIMT, do you remember, Christine, how much that CIMT was? He ran it. Was it covered by insurance? Do you remember? I think the CIMT was, but they did it in my doctor's office. But they basically just did like a little ultrasound up and down, and they measured the thickness of your carotid intima. But that's looking for actual signs of disease. If there's nothing there, you have no disease. Why are you taking a drug?
Wow. See, that's great. And, you said the HSCRP, isn't that the high sensitivity C-reactive protein? Is that correct?
It is.
Okay. So one thing I wanted to ask you about, and this has always been in the back of my mind, if I ever had the opportunity to get in touch with you, I wanted to ask your opinion on the Boston heart test.
I'm not a fan of that one or the Berkeley heart lab tests, just because I think they're incomplete. I think they offer some nominal information, but I'm just not a fan when they don't give you the whole story. And which is why I'm a big fan of like NMR for the complete profile. And I'm a fan of functional medicine testing where they actually look at not just like TSH for your thyroid panel, but the entire thyroid panel, the antibodies and all that, because I think it all matters. So while I applaud them for trying to put together these tests like Berkeley and Boston that would have a more comprehensive approach, I don't think they're comprehensive enough, to be honest.
Yeah, and I would agree. I did the Boston heart test about a year ago, and it was free because the Boston Heart, what they ended up doing was if your insurance wasn't going to cover it, then they just write it off because I guess they wanted the statistics or something.
Yep.
But I got it back, and I have to say that from a patient's perspective, it was kind of scary. They handed you a pamphlet this thick with all of these things in there about what to do about high cholesterol with
and ranges and yeah.
And you're like, and I'm a person who studies labs for almost 15 years, so I don't usually get, but I saw some yellow and red in there, and I was like, what is wrong with me? That's where all the pink stuff came from here. All of these tabs. I got my test out. I did, and I went through and I made notes to see if I had anything to be concerned about. So.
Well, and keep in mind that a lot of those kind of tests too, they have these lab ranges.
Yeah.
And who are the people that are getting these labs run? Think about people that go see their doc. Yeah. Well, you and me are kind of the geeks of this, but let's think of just regular people. They go to their doctor because they're sick. Yeah. And so by the time they go to their doctor, they're sick, they're getting these tests run. Those ranges are the averages of sick people.
Yes.
And what I want to know is what's the optimal ranges, which is what we did in Cholesterol Clarity. We not only showed you what ranges they say are healthy, but we give you the ranges that are actually optimal that you should be shooting for. And it's far different from what they say is healthy. Like, for example, they say LDL cholesterol, LDL-C should be under 100. Well, that's just a totally arbitrary number. Same with the 200 total cholesterol, totally arbitrary. And yet that's the average of the sick population. Well, I don't want to be sick. I want to be optimal. And I think the sooner, and one of my books one of these days is going to be like lab range clarity or something, because we want to correct those things that are being mislabeled as you're out of range, as if it means something.
Yes, I'm so glad you said this, because, and I don't know what's going on with audio. There's a couple things going on here today for some reason. Normally don't. The one person I say,
it's the vegans trying to keep us from getting the message out.
So if there's any issues, I apologize on my end, but I wanted to say this. I teach thyroid to coaches as well. And I wrote a thyroid guide. It's 50 pages long. It's just an ebook to touch on those things, the basics of, how TSH is the gold standard, but it's not the one test, you know the drill. But the one thing I say when I'm teaching that class is I say, when I'm being compared to someone, because I have Hashimoto's, I have thyroid disease, and it's way too far gone because I was 10 years undiagnosed before they caught it. But what I tell them, I say, you know what? I want you to compare me to someone who's healthy. So when you get, 100 healthy people in there and you test their thyroid, then I want you to put my ranges against theirs and tell me where I land. Because what you're telling me is that I'm healthier than the average sick person.
Yeah.
That's not, to me, that means nothing. So
that's not a positive thing, right?
Not a good thing. Yeah. And so that is something I try to spread the word about also, is functional lab ranges are not conventional lab ranges. They're not. Those are the ones that are where they're keeping people sick. So
that's right.
Very powerful that you said that. And I know that we're probably running in time. I could sit here and talk all day long, but I do want to move a little bit away from, talking about the cholesterol. And I want to talk about how how did you end up becoming this like social media, like I said, 67,000 plus followers? How did you get there? Just from a few messages coming into you. And I ask this because I'm curious, but I also know that I have health coaches out there that are just getting started or have actually been, trying to gain audiences. They're struggling and they think that, there's too many of us out there doing this. How did you manage to do this? How did you do this?
Well, number one, I got in early, probably before most of kind of all the noise that's out there now. And I'm not meaning to disrespect anybody, but calling them noise, but it truly can be noise, even if it's good things, because there's so many people out there. But the thing that I think has set my work apart from most other people is I'm brutally honest. If I'm struggling, I'm sharing. If I'm having good times, I'm sharing. If I'm having a really ugly episode, I'm sharing. And I'm sharing earnestly and honestly about everything. I think we have too many fake people in this world that try to pretend like they have all the answers. They try to pretend like nothing ever goes wrong. And especially someone that purports to be kind of a picture of health or a model for health. And if something bad happens, oh, well, I can't say anything about that. What will they think of me? You know what? People will respect you more if you share honestly what's going on. And I've had bouts of times in my career since starting this where I've gained back some weight, and I'm very honest about it. And I have, different issues going on. I'm very honest about it. And I think the authenticity is what's missing in so many people. They don't know how to act normal. And normal is just telling people what's going on. And at the end of the day, you'll have a few people judge you. That's fine. I've got 2 whole blogs that were set up as anti-Jimmy Moore blogs because they think I'm a fraud and all this kind of stuff. I can't help people that can't handle authenticity. What I can help is all those people that want to see that I'm someone just like them, hurting just like them, dealing with all the issues just like them. Yes. And I think that's why I've connected so much with so many people. I never set out to do SEO optimization and all this kind of nonsense that they say you have to do. I just live. I just do me. And if people would just do them and not try to be some persona that they're pretending to be online, don't try to be Jillian Michaels. Number one, that's not a good thing to follow anyway. But she's got her own following because she is who she is and she's done the marketing and everything. But be you and you'll build your own brand. And I think that's what's helped me.
Yeah. And I feel like you're talking my language. I swear. And I'm not just saying that. I'm not blowing smoke. Today, I posted in my page, don't forget, just remember to be authentic and honest, share your story. Because,
yep.
And one of the things that I run into with coaches is they feel like, and they've told me this, I mentor coaches all the time, and they say, but I'm not thin enough to coach. I'm not healthy enough to coach. Well, I'll tell you what, I have had hundreds of clients that have gotten well over the years, and I still have thyroid disease, right? Yeah. So what if I waited until I was perfectly healthy? Then how many people would not yeah. And there's no such thing, because we're always going through something. The world we're living in, physically and mentally, is kind of toxic. So something's always going to be happening.
You know what people really want? They want people with passion.
Yes.
And I think that's the last little ingredient. So you got the authenticity, the honesty, but passion. They want to see somebody that's excited about something. And if you're excited about whatever it is you're excited about in the realm of health, you're going to get other people excited. I can't tell you how many people that I've gotten emails from. They've heard me on shows like this. They've heard me on my podcast. They've seen me lecture around the world. And they always say, I can just feel that you believe everything that you're sharing. And it's just so real to me. That's why I connected.
Yes. Yeah. And I 100% agree with that. I truly do. And I feel like, and that's one reason, like, I mean, I don't have fancy lights. You see my door behind me. I mean, my closet's over here.
Yep.
Nobody's done my makeup. I mean, I feel sometimes that in growing in the coaching industry has been very difficult over the years, because I have actually battled with that. I'm like, I'm not that person. I've never had my nails done. I'm just going to be who I am. And that, yeah, right. But in the last 8 months, that is what I came to realize, is that I have gained more followers and more trust by not doing all of the fancy stuff that other people are doing, than just doing this and just being who I am. So
it's amazing how you set yourself apart just being you.
Yeah.
And I mean, if the health coaches watching this and listening to this right now would just embrace that and understand you don't have to be anybody but who you are, and you'll get people to come to you. Now, if you live a boring life, be a little something more exciting, but I'm just kidding. But share the good, the bad, the ugly. If you have a kid that's being ornery at home, incorporate that into your message. People will so connect with that.
Totally. And don't you think, and this is something that I've tried to explain to people as well, is, anybody can be an expert at anything. Like, if you are really good at folding fitted sheets, by all means, do a YouTube video on how to fold a fitted sheet. I bet you get 1 million follows on that, because not everybody knows how to do that. You
Right.
are now an expert at that. But find the thing within you that lights you up and become an expert at that. And those people will come to you. I mean, I truly believe that's what happens, is we draw those people. But you even said this, and this is another thing I love in your book, and I'm going to read it off my notes here. I am merely an educated and empowered layperson with no formal training in medicine, nutrition, or any other health-related field. When someone asks, what makes you an expert on cholesterol? What I think, I want you to tell me what you think about made you an expert. What I think is what you just said, is that you're passionate about it. You want to help people. What do you think makes you an expert?
Well, I don't necessarily think I'm an expert per se, but I know all the experts. Right. And I've interviewed them on my show, and I've talked to them, and I've gleaned from their wisdom. I tell people often that I feel like I've got multiple PhDs, honorary PhDs, from all the knowledge that I've soaked in over the years, interviewing all these amazing people that truly know their stuff. I mean, I'm going to write clarity books till kingdom come, because I have so many people that are in my Rolodex of people that just know everything. And through their knowledge, I'm growing and I'm learning on my own. And that's kind of a take-home message too, is, okay, you got training as a health coach, but maybe you need to keep going and keep learning and keep adding to that knowledge. Never stop learning. The moment you stop being a student is the moment you stop helping people. So I always, even though I'm not a MD, PhD, RD, or any D after my name, I'm just a guy who's trying to be educated, be that empowered patient to help other people become empowered patients too.
Yeah. But see, to me, as a health coach, you as a resource are an expert to me. So even though you've used those experts, I view you and speak of you as the cholesterol expert. That's just the way that I think of, people like you, because I'm on I'm on this side of it. You know what I mean? So, when someone says that to me, who would you go to? And I've got a health coach named Stan, honorary mention, love him. He is all about, ketosis, and he's going through his own journey with that. And at one point I sent the link to your book to him, and I'm not sure how he's doing. He had a bout of some muscle stuff recently, but I need to check in with him on that. And I want to hear his story about it, like him to share that information that he learned from that book as well.
Yep. So
I actually have a resource page that has about 240 different wellness and health links that I have created for my coaches to use and learn from. And I think it's powerful, because all we have to do is go out there and click on these people who are doing this. It saves so much time, and it's just so valuable. But before we wrap up, I want to ask you another question here, and this is regards to podcasting and blogging, because those are two things that are a little bit daunting to some people. First, the blogging thing, because if you don't love to write, it can be one of those things that feels like a chore.
Mm-hmm.
And the podcasting thing, I love the idea of someday having something like that, because I love to connect like this.
So do it. What are you waiting on? Do it.
As soon as I get this program launched, I'm considering it. The thing is I want to know what your thoughts are on the pros and cons of both for people who are thinking about venturing out to that.
Yeah, I mean, certainly there are, especially today in 2016, there are so many opportunities for not just blogging and podcasting, but periscoping and YouTube videoing and all of that. So there's so many opportunities to get the message out. What I often tell people is whatever you're good at, that's what you need to gravitate to. So if you don't like to write, don't become a blogger. But if you don't like to write, surely you like to talk. So start a podcast. I am constantly mentoring brand new podcasters. They come to me, they say, okay, you've done this gig a while, tell me how to do this. And I'm always offering up information to help them. I think just find what your natural talents are, kind of like the guy that was my producer who found me and saw the talent in me to speak even before he heard me talk. He just did that based on my writing style. He assumed I knew how to talk. And so ask people, what do you think I'm good at? What are my skills? What do you think I talk well? Do you think I explain things well? Maybe you're a drawer. Maybe you're somebody who can communicate in picture form. I can't even draw a stick figure. That's how bad of a drawer I am. But I can talk and I can write. And those are the skills that I use to get my message out. So find what your skills are to get the message out and run with it. And don't let anything hold you back. Oh, well, Jimmy Moore's out there in the podcasting world. He's got 1 million podcasts. Why do I need to do them? I've got a waiting list right now of 500 plus people that want to be on my shows. Wow. I have nowhere to put them right now because I only do so many shows a week. I do a bunch, but I can't get to them all. And we need more people that are willing to kind of put their name out there. And from a business standpoint, a health coach, talk about kind of a built-in audience for promoting and building your health coaching career. That's a great way to do it because people, it's amazing. I get to travel around the world. I've been to South Africa and the UK, Australia, New Zealand. Every time I go to these foreign countries and I start my talk, I'll say, how many people have listened to the Live and La Vida Low Carb show? And I mean, it's like 3/4 of the people in the audience. And I'm going, whoa, you just never realize the reach that you have all around the world once you start kind of getting your voice out there.
Yeah, I agree. I have some clients in South Africa and New Zealand and Hawaii and Alaska. And now time changes can be a little difficult, as you know, trying to schedule things from other countries.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, but I agree. And I think I think it just opens the door to your life to have a much richer life, meeting all these different people from other places. So
right.
Maybe one of those people that are getting with you about the ins and outs of podcasting, because it's one of my favorite things to do is talk. You can ask my husband, much to this day.
No, I couldn't imagine.
Yeah, but anyway, I do so much appreciate you and everything that you do and how you give out to people like me and to the other health coaches that are going to be touched by this conversation. I apologize for any of the little glitches we've had with audio, but it's been just so valuable to hear you just freely speak about your passion about this, because it truly shines that you really want people to get well. You want to share this information and empower people to take control of their own lives. And honestly, when it comes right down to it, that's what I think health coaches should be doing, is empowering people to take accountability and take these skills for life and run with them. And so hearing it from you it's really been helpful today. So I appreciate you so much. Thank you. It's been my pleasure. Yes. All right. And I will communicate with you by email, and I'll send you a link to this too, so you can put it wherever you want to put it and hang on to it for later on. We'll send it out to a couple of people. That'd be great. That'd be great. Thank you so much. And tell your wife hello. She's got to be in the background somewhere, right? Yeah, she's over there. Say hello, Christine. Hey. Real loud. Hey, I love the rock thing on her. I think it was her page where she was talking about having to pick up rocks out of the yard for mowing. Yeah, because we had a gravel pit put in the backyard and new septic tank. And so she was afraid I was going to hit the lawnmower with it and press a window or something. Yeah, that happens here too. We have that same thing going on at our house. So yeah. You have a great rest of the week, Jimmy, and thank you so much again. Thank you. Take care. All right. Bye-bye.